I think free speech gets really confused, and it's important to set out what it is and isn't. So some people think that free speech is the right to say whatever you want, and people have to listen to you, and they even have to help you by giving you a platform. And that's not true. It can't be true, because sometimes people are going to say things that are actually dangerous, like actually telling people to commit a crime. That's not right. That's incitement. Yelling fire in a crowded theatre, that's the classic example. That's criminal nuisance. I mean, that's actually a crime. And sometimes the courts will suppress information, for example, to protect the victim of a sexual crime. That you can't breach the court order. So first of all, there are legal times when you're not allowed to say certain things if they will lead directly to violence or harm. The second thing is there'll be times when people just don't want to listen to you. So, sometimes people say something unbelievably stupid, and I'll say, well, I'm sorry, but that's wrong. And they'll say, oh, but what about free speech? I'm like, yeah, they're using their free speech, I'm using mine, I think they're wrong. So free speech is not the right, just like the right to have an opinion. It's not the right for everyone to agree with you. So those are things that people, I think, often get wrong about free speech. There are legal limits on it in any society. And it's not the right to be accepted and have people listen to you or give you a platform or whatever. However, there is a very important line, I'd say it's a red line for free speech, and that is, can the state lock you up on the basis of subjective opinion? And that's the line you cannot cross. So if you have a Human Rights Commission or some sort of government entity, might even be the police, that can punish you for example, insulting someone or causing mental distress to someone, well, that's just impossible. In fact, those claims that are the easiest thing in the world to claim, and they're impossible to disprove. So we have to be really clear that the state cannot punish you for having a particular opinion, no matter how unfashionable. And you've got to remember, it's always the people that are the least popular at the time that we now think are heroes. I mean, Kate Shepherd's views that women should be able to vote, that wasn't a widely accepted view when she started out. I mean, hard to believe now. Using free speech was critical. Gay rights, I mean, up until 1986, it was illegal to be gay in New Zealand. And saying that it should be legal in the decades prior to that was kind of an edgy thing to say. So in many cases and causes that we would now think, oh, well, of course that's right, it was actually people's ability to say it and not be prosecuted or persecuted for having an opinion that was judged to be insulting or below community standards or whatever people thought at the time. If they weren't able to say it, we wouldn't be here now. So free speech is actually critical to social change. And the red line is, can you ever be punished by the state on the basis of subjective opinion? Now, the concept that underlies that is a really important one. It's actually the rule of law. And the rule of law, basically, the way to think of it is that there's either the rule of law or there's the rule of people and dictators. And what the rule of law means is that you and I can go and read what the law is, and we can understand, what we have to do to stay within the law, understand what might happen if we broke the law, and critically, we can go before a court and show that what we did was consistent with the law, so we know how to defend ourselves. And the great thing about that is that it applies equally to everyone. You can't be discriminated against because it has to be applied equally to all people, because we're all looking at the same page. Now, the thing about free speech is that if you have things, long-term trends, like you can't say something to a crowd of people that are, really riled up and about to do something crazy. If you then stand there and tell them to do something crazy, you could say, well, it's not unreasonable to think they'll do it. That's incitement. If you're in a crowded theatre and there's no fire and you yell fire and people get trampled, that's criminal nuisance. You did something that was totally unnecessary that led to direct consequences, and perhaps you did it with the intention causing a problem. Those are consistent with the rule of law. On the other hand, if we say that it's illegal to insult someone, well, some people will say that is absolutely criminal insult. You've gone to jail. Other people will say, oh no, but that they were just joking. And whether or not you go to jail, you don't actually know if you're guilty up until the point of conviction. And that's the rule of the person or the dictator rather than the rule of law. So putting it all together, free speech is not the right to say whatever you want and have people agree with you or listen to you or give you a platform. Actually, it's simply the right not to be prosecuted by the state for having an opinion that's judged subjectively. And the critical concept underneath that is the rule of law, that the law has to be written down. I have to be able to know what my rights are if I'm accused of a crime and be able to defend myself on an equal basis to anyone else who's done the same thing.